Have you ever found yourself wide awake at 3 a.m.? No noise, no nightmare, just you, the silence, and a sense of something unsettled? You stare at the ceiling, wondering, why now? What's happening to me? If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. For millions of older adults, these early morning wake-ups are more than just a sleep issue. They're quiet messages from the body, the mind, and the heart. This isn't about insomnia or aging gone wrong. It's about rhythm, change, and the deeply human experience of growing older with awareness. What if waking up at 3 a.m. isn't a problem, but an invitation? An invitation to listen, to adjust, to understand what your body is truly telling you. In this story, we'll explore 7 powerful and often overlooked reasons why your body might be waking you up during the stillest hour of the night. And more importantly, we'll show you how to work with those changes, not against them. Because you still have the right to rest, to choose, and to live independently, with dignity and peace. If any part of this resonates with you already, drop a number 1 in the comments below. You're not alone, and your story matters. But what if the real reason you're waking up at 3 a.m. is because your body thinks the night is already over? As we age, our internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm, begins to shift. This natural adjustment means that the body starts feeling sleepy earlier in the evening, and as a result, wakes up earlier in the morning. This isn't just about going to bed at 9 p.m. instead of 11. It's about the entire biological rhythm quietly rewiring itself day by day, year by year. This change is called advanced sleep phase syndrome, and while it's incredibly common, very few people talk about it. It's not something you caused. It's not a failure of discipline or willpower. It's simply the way the aging body moves through time. For many older adults, this means falling asleep easily after dinner, only to be wide awake at 3 a.m., confused and frustrated, wondering what's wrong. Take Eleanor, a retired librarian living in a quiet suburb of Oregon. She used to be a night owl, enjoying late-night novels and jazz radio. But now, even without trying, her eyes get heavy by 8:30 p.m., and she often drifts off before the 10 o'clock news. By 3 a.m., she's staring at the ceiling in a perfectly silent house, unsure whether to get up or force herself to stay in bed. At first, she thought something was broken, until her doctor gently explained that her body wasn't misbehaving. It was simply moving to a new rhythm. Understanding this gave Eleanor something she hadn't felt in a while: relief. She stopped blaming herself and started observing her evenings. Were her routines inviting sleep too early? Could she stretch them gently, perhaps with a warm bath, a short walk, or a call to her sister in California who stays up later? Bit by bit, she nudged her sleep window forward, giving her body just enough time to rest deeper and longer. And that's the key: awareness followed by compassion. When you know what's happening inside your body, you don't have to fight it. You can support it. You can partner with it. You're not at the mercy of some mysterious sleep thief. You're simply navigating a new phase of life. And with a few thoughtful changes, you can regain a sense of peace and rhythm. This kind of shift doesn't just affect sleep. It touches your whole experience of aging. It reminds you that your body is still adapting, still responding to the world. And just like in every other chapter of life, you still have the right to choose how you live, rest, and heal. If you've ever found yourself dozing off before the evening is even over, and waking in the stillness before dawn, share your experience in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if this insight helped you see things in a new light, drop a number 2 below. Your voice matters more than you know. Just as your internal clock may be shifting, The daily habits that once anchored your evenings could now be quietly steering your nights in a new direction. Many older adults find that their routines, though seemingly harmless, are contributing to those 3 a.m. awakenings. The truth is, lifestyle doesn't stay still as we age. We retire, slow down, and begin prioritizing rest. But those small changes, like eating dinner earlier, moving less during the day, or dimming the lights by sunset, can send powerful signals to the brain. It's time to sleep now. And when you go to sleep at 8:30 or 9 p.m. out of habit, not tiredness, you're likely to be up again 6 hours later, right around 3 a.m. This was exactly what happened to Raymond, a 70-year-old former mechanic from Kansas City. Since retiring, his days became quieter. He'd eat supper by 5 p.m., watch the news, and be in bed by 8:45, even earlier in winter. He didn't feel exhausted, it was just routine. But after several weeks of waking up at 3 a.m. sharp, eyes wide open and mind alert, he began to wonder what had changed. Raymond hadn't considered that routine itself could be the culprit. He hadn't changed his mattress or started a new medication. But his entire day had become so mellow, so early, that his body clock simply adjusted. Once he realized this, he didn't overhaul his life. He made a few small, meaningful tweaks. He started taking a brisk walk after dinner, listening to a podcast that made him laugh. And most importantly, he resisted crawling into bed the moment the sun dipped below the horizon. These kinds of shifts aren't always obvious, but they are powerful. When the brain is no longer receiving strong external cues, like work schedules, social events, or evening activity, it defaults to nature's rhythm. And for older adults, that rhythm comes earlier than before. It's not a flaw. It's just part of how we transition into a slower, more reflective pace of life. But here's the empowering part. You can gently guide that rhythm. You can shape your environment, brighten your evenings, engage in conversation, or stretch your movement into the late afternoon. These signals matter. They remind your body that the day isn't quite over yet, and in return, your sleep may begin later and stretch deeper. When we realize that we're not failing at sleep, but responding to our surroundings, it changes the way we view our own habits. It invites us to look more closely, to question gently, and to adjust without shame. Because the smallest shifts, made with kindness, can return a sense of balance. Have you noticed that your evenings have grown quieter, earlier, almost without meaning to? Have your days lost the structure they once had? Tell us what's changed in your routine. And if this sparked a new idea or helped you reflect on your own patterns, drop a number 3 below. Your insight could be just what someone else needs to hear. Of course, while routines shape our evenings, what's happening inside the body often speaks even louder. One of the most influential internal factors affecting sleep in older adults is the natural decline in melatonin, a hormone that plays a central role in helping us fall and stay asleep. As we grow older, our bodies produce less of it, and even the small amount we do produce becomes more vulnerable to disruption. This decline doesn't happen overnight. It's gradual, quiet, and easy to overlook. But its effects can feel anything but subtle. When melatonin drops too low in the early morning hours, say around 2 or 3 a.m., your brain may begin to shift from deep rest back toward a waking state, even if you haven't gotten the sleep you need. And because melatonin is so sensitive to light, even a faint glow from a hallway nightlight or the street lamp outside your window can push your body further toward wakefulness. This is something Doris, a 73-year-old retired school counselor in Asheville, North Carolina, had to learn the hard way. For most of her life, she'd considered herself a good sleeper. But lately, She'd found herself waking at exactly 3:12 a.m. every night. She wasn't in pain. She wasn't worried. She was just wide awake. She tried herbal teas, white noise, even counting backward from 500. Nothing helped. Then one evening, while reading about melatonin, something clicked. She realized her new alarm clock, a modern model with glowing blue digits, was sitting directly next to her pillow. Her bathroom nightlight had also been replaced with a brighter LED bulb. It was only when she began eliminating these subtle light sources that her sleep began to stretch past 3 a.m. again. She also took other small steps, dimming the lights after 8 p.m., avoiding screens before bed, and sitting on her porch just before dusk to take in the natural fading of the sun. These gentle cues helped signal to her body that nighttime was approaching, giving her internal rhythm a clearer sense of direction. It's important to remember that this is not about blame. You haven't done anything wrong. This is simply your body aging, as all bodies do, and learning to support that change can make a world of difference. When you work with your biology, instead of resenting it, peace follows. You stop seeing your body as the enemy and start recognizing it as a partner that needs a little more care, a little more patience, and a lot more grace. Sleep isn't just a physical need, it's a relationship. One that deserves attention, understanding, and love, especially in this season of life. Have you ever noticed how even the smallest light in your bedroom can keep you from sleeping through the night? Or have you made adjustments that helped your rest feel more complete? Share your experiences in the comments, and if you learned something new or feel inspired to make a small change tonight, drop a number 4 below. Your story could light the way for someone else. Still, even when your habits are in order and your bedroom is perfectly dark, there's another reason your sleep may be cut short. And it starts within the body itself. As we age, physical discomfort and subtle health changes can begin to interrupt sleep in ways we don't always recognize right away. These aren't dramatic emergencies, but small, persistent signals that something inside us needs attention. A stiff joint, a dry throat, a full bladder, a shift in body temperature. At 3 a.m., when the world is still and distractions are gone, these sensations often rise to the surface. That's what happened to Frank, a 76-year-old Vietnam veteran living just outside Denver. He'd always considered himself tough, used to pushing through aches without complaint. But after months of waking up around 3 a.m., sometimes twice a night, he realized something wasn't quite right. It wasn't fear, it wasn't dreams, it was his body. Specifically, his knees, which stiffened during long stretches of stillness. The discomfort wasn't sharp, but it was enough to gently nudge him out of sleep. Frank also noticed that his need to use the restroom had increased. It wasn't just habit, it was biology. As we grow older, the bladder becomes less elastic, and the urge to urinate arrives more suddenly and more frequently, especially at night. This, combined with the side effects of a new blood pressure medication, created the perfect storm for restless early morning wake-ups. But once Frank began to see these interruptions as signals, not failures, everything changed. He spoke to his doctor, who adjusted the timing of his medication and recommended some simple stretches before bed. Frank also placed a pillow under his knees to relieve pressure, kept water at his bedside for dry mouth, and began wearing lightweight socks at night to manage temperature changes. These weren't huge lifestyle overhauls, but they worked. His body began to settle more easily. When he did wake, it wasn't with frustration, but with awareness, and often he could return to sleep within minutes. What matters most here is the shift in mindset. Too often, we view sleep disruptions as something to fix or fight against. But in truth, they are often gentle messages, Invitations to pay closer attention. When we meet them with curiosity and care instead of anger or fear, we start to take back our sense of agency. We remember that aging isn't just about limitations, it's about learning to respond more wisely. Have you ever discovered that a small ache or medication side effect was quietly disturbing your rest? Have you taken any small steps that made your nights feel more comfortable? Let us know in the comments. And if this story reminded you to listen more closely to your own body, drop a number 5 below. Your voice could help someone else feel less alone tonight. But not every 3 a.m. awakening is caused by physical discomfort. Sometimes it's something far quieter and far deeper that stirs us from sleep. As life slows down in retirement and the noise of daily responsibilities fades, the mind finds space to wander, and often it chooses the stillness of night to do so. These early hours, when the world is dark, quiet, and undemanding, become the time when long-buried thoughts and emotions begin to rise. It's not panic or racing thoughts like in younger years. It's subtler, softer, a slow, inward pull toward memory, reflection, or even unspoken grief. That was exactly what Marjorie, an 82-year-old former church secretary from Charleston, South Carolina, came to understand. After her husband passed away, her days remained busy, gardening, calling her grandchildren, helping out at the local food pantry. But at 3 a.m., her house would fall silent, and she would wake with a start. No pain, no noise, just a feeling, a presence, or maybe an absence. She would lie there, replaying conversations she wished she could revisit, remembering his laugh, worrying about her son, who rarely called. There was no crisis, but her heart was full, and that fullness had nowhere to go in the daylight. So, it came knocking in the dark. For Marjorie, the answer wasn't melatonin or stretching or room temperature. It was giving her emotions a space to breathe. She began keeping a notebook by her bed. Not a journal exactly, but a place where she could write a line or two in those early hours. Sometimes just a memory, sometimes a question, sometimes a prayer. And when she did, something softened inside her. The act of acknowledgement brought peace. And often, after writing, she could drift back to sleep with less weight on her chest. We often overlook how emotionally rich this stage of life truly is. Decades of love, loss, joy, regret. They don't just disappear. And without the distractions of a career, a full house, or a busy calendar, those emotions finally have the room to rise. But this isn't a sign of weakness. It's a testament to a life deeply lived. So if you find yourself waking in the quiet hours, not with pain, but with presence, know that you are not broken. You are remembering, processing, feeling. That, too, is part of rest. Maybe what your heart needs at 3 a.m. isn't to be silenced, but to be heard. Maybe rest isn't just sleep. It's reflection, connection, and release. Have you ever found yourself waking not from discomfort, but from emotion? Have you noticed memories or feelings resurfacing in the quiet of the night? We'd love to hear what helped you through it. And if Marjorie's story resonated with you, or you've had a similar experience, drop a number 6 below. You never know who you might comfort by sharing. While the heart may speak in the stillness of night, there's another voice that deserves just as much attention. Your own power to choose how you respond. Far too often, older adults are made to feel that waking up at 3 a.m. is the beginning of decline. That if sleep is disrupted, independence must soon follow. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, the ability to wake, reflect, adapt, and adjust is a profound sign of self-awareness. And it's at the core of living freely and intentionally, even as your body changes. Carolyn, A 78-year-old artist living alone in a small coastal town in Maine struggled with this exact fear. After years of sleeping soundly, she began waking in the early morning hours, first occasionally, then almost nightly. Friends told her it might be time to move in with her daughter or consider assisted living. Their concern came from love, but it made her feel like she was losing control over her life. But Carolyn wasn't ready to give up the home where she painted, where she brewed her morning coffee by the window, and where she felt most herself. So instead of surrendering to the fear, she leaned into curiosity. Why was she waking? What could she do differently? What small acts could help her reclaim her rest? She began experimenting. She changed the position of her bed to avoid the morning light. She took her evening tea a little later. She skipped her afternoon nap and took a short walk instead. These weren't drastic changes, but they were hers. And over time, her 3 a.m. wake-ups became less frustrating and more manageable. She stayed in her home on her terms, not because she resisted change, but because she responded to it. What Carolyn rediscovered is something every older adult needs to hear. Independence is not about perfection. It's about participation. It's about showing up, noticing what's changing, and making decisions with dignity. Waking in the night doesn't mean you've lost your autonomy. On the contrary, it can be a call to protect it. You still have the right to adjust your habits, honor your needs, and live a life that reflects who you are. So if you've been waking early and wondering if it's a sign that you're slipping, pause. Ask instead, what is my body telling me? What choices can I still make? Because as long as you're asking those questions, you are still in charge. Have you made small adjustments that helped you preserve your independence and comfort at night? Do you have a personal ritual that helps you feel grounded during early wake-ups? Share it in the comments. And if Carolyn's story reminded you that you still hold the reins, drop a number 7 below. Your courage could inspire someone else to keep choosing for themselves. So what if waking up at 3 a.m. isn't a problem to fix, but a message to understand? Throughout this journey, we've uncovered that those early morning hours, once filled with frustration or confusion, can actually be invitations. Invitations to listen to your body, to honor the rhythms that have changed with time, and to recognize how deeply alive and responsive you still are. Whether it's your internal clock shifting, your daily habits gently guiding your sleep, or your heart reaching for something unspoken in the quiet, every moment of wakefulness carries meaning. And instead of blaming yourself or fearing what these changes might mean, you now have the chance to meet them with awareness, self-compassion, and choice. Because aging doesn't mean losing control. It means evolving. It means learning how to adapt in new ways, with grace and strength. It means knowing that even when sleep changes, you still have the right to create peace, comfort, and independence on your own terms. There is beauty in that. There is power in it. So the next time you find yourself staring at the ceiling in the early hours, ask not, "What's wrong with me?" but, "What do I need?" That single shift in perspective might be the most restful decision you make. If this story brought you insight, peace, or even just a sense that you're not alone, we invite you to keep the conversation going. Like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear these words, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that speak to the heart of aging with dignity, courage, and hope. You deserve rest. You deserve clarity. And most of all, you deserve to live your life. Not in fear of change, but in harmony with it. We'll see you in the next story. Until then, take good care.